Hi, I'm John Noser with Board Game Geek for BGGCon 2011. This is a rules explanation video for Trajan, published by Amonet. Trajan is a 2 to 4 player game. It takes about a half an hour per player. And first we're going to look at the individual player boards and how to set those up. In the right hand corner you're going to have all your little Romans. They're going to be eventually put onto the board, the main board. You're also going to have action markers of various colors, 2 of each type of color. And you are going to put them 2 in each action circle. You can put them in any way you want. It is totally up to you. And you will be doing this actually before the main setup of the board, which will make sense in a little while why that is. So let's look at some of the areas. These are going to be where you're going to be putting your Trajan tiles. These are going to be, if you get any Senate action tiles, you'll be putting them there. Extra action tiles go here. These are wild tiles. There are tiles that will be wild for extra actions, wild for demands, wild for construction sites, and wild for commodities, and you put them there. This is where you put your commodity Trajan tiles. Those are the only Trajan tiles that after you get them you keep throughout the game, so they will go there. These are construction sites, and these are your demand forum tiles. They will go there. Now that everybody's individual boards have been set up, we are going to set up the main board. You want to take all the construction tiles, which are these red tiles, and randomly place them in each demarcated area. That will be using all the construction tiles. You want to put the forum tiles, which are the green backed tiles, in the forum area for in the demarcated green areas, up to the amount of players you're playing, so that'd be 2, 3, or 4 players. You're also going to put one in each province up in the military area. You're going to take the 3 of the extra action tokens and place them in the demarcated area in the forum also. Next, you're going to randomly draw 2 bonus tiles and place them here in the Senate area. You're going to divide the Trajan tiles in the individual types, randomly pile them up in the 6 areas. So this would be to move a worker, move to the legionary area, extra bonus for extra actions, extra commodities, permanent demands, and just straight victory points. You're going to put the boats in the boat slots. Order does not matter there. You're going to put a marker on the scoring track for each person and also on the Senate track for each person. You will take the time marker and place it on the appropriate time track of how many players you're playing. Again, 2, 3, and 4. You're going to pile up these in order. This is just going to demarcate what year you are. And then you're going to randomly shuffle up the commodity cards and create 2 discards, 1 on each side. You're also going to then discard 3 random demand tiles and remove them from the game. Then you should be ready to play. After you've set up the main board and determined the first player, you will be choosing Trajan tiles, starting with the first player, in a clockwise manner. You will be putting those tiles in the 2 spot, the 4 spot, and the 6 spot. You are not allowed to choose during the initial setup phase here the same type of tile. When you take the Trajan tile, the Trajan action later on, you will be able to have similar Trajan tiles on your board. On your turn, you're going to be taking all your action markers from one of your action circles and placing an action marker clockwise in each action circle until you run out of action markers. Then you are going to move the time marker up the amount of spaces equal to the amount of markers you just moved. So in that case, I just moved 2, so it would move up 2 spaces. Also, since wherever you landed up, you will be taking that action. So in this situation, I will be taking the Trajan action. So for another example, in this situation, I'm going to be moving 3 spots and landing up there. I will be moving the time marker up 3 spaces. I will be taking the form action. And since I have actually accomplished the goal here on this Trajan tile, so I have a white and a blue, it doesn't matter if you move the white or the blue in or they were already there, I would actually claim this tile, get the amount of victory points on the tile, and then get whatever bonus on the tile that is pictured. The first action I will explain is the seaport action. When you take an action, you generally get to choose one of the options of that action. The seaport action, with a few of the other actions, actually have multiple options you can choose. Option number 1 for the seaport action is to draw 2 commodity cards. Add them to your hand, and then discard one of those commodity cards to one of the discard piles. That card may or may not be one of the cards you just drew. Option number 2 is to actually draw a card from one of the discard piles. You get the top card and you add it to your hand. Option number 3 is to take 1 or 2 commodity cards and lay them down in front of your player's board for endgame scoring. They cannot be moved from that area or added back into your hand. Option number 4 is actually to ship goods. You ship goods through these boats, and each boat wants different sets of goods. This boat is looking for as many of one type. So if you have one of one type, you get 2 victory points. If you have a pair, 6. If you have a set, 12. If you have 4 of a kind, 20. These are looking for all difference, and these are looking for pairs. So in this situation, I have 4 different goods. So I am going to use this boat. I would score 8 victory points, and then I would flip this boat over. For the rest of the quarter, if someone wants to use that boat, they would only get the corresponding victory points on the lower side. With the construction action, you have 2 options. Option number 1 is to take one of your Romans and put him from your board to the worker camp. So he becomes a worker. Option number 2, it would be to take your worker and move him to one of the construction sites. If this is the first time you are doing that, you can actually move to any of the construction sites. When you move to a construction site that still has one of the construction markers on it, you actually take that marker. If you later on take this action again, you have to place your worker in a construction site that is orthogonally adjacent to any of your current workers. So in this situation, I can move him here, 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 or here. Let's say here. And I would get this. Now, if you are a different color and you want to move into an area where someone else already has a worker, you can. That is perfectly fine. You just do not get a tile. There might be points in the game you would want to do that so you have access to some of the other higher point worker construction tiles. The forum action is a simple action. If you end up in the forum action circle, you take 1 forum action tile from the forum area. If you end up in the Senate action circle, you take the Senate action, which means you would move your marker up to the next spot on the Senate track and score that many victory points. If someone's already in that spot, you actually place your piece on top of them and you still score that many victory points. That will come into as a tiebreaker at the end of the quarter. With the military action, you have three options. Option number one is to take one of your Romans from your board and place them in the camp and to make him a legionnaire. Option number two is to move your leader to an adjacent province. If you're moving from or to Britannia or the home camp, the green lines tell you what are the adjacent areas. If your leader actually arrives in a region that actually still has a forum tile in it, you actually do collect the forum tile. The last option is actually to have one of your legionnaires move directly from the camp to wherever your leader is. And it does have to move directly from the camp to the leader, not from province to province. If you move one of your legionnaires to where your leader is, you get victory points. You would get the amount of victory points that is in that province area. So in this case, it would be 5 victory points. However, if you're not the first legionnaire to arrive, it's actually -3 victory points for every legionnaire that beat you to that spot. So in this situation, you would only get 2 victory points. With the Trajan action, you will choose any of the top Trajan markers and bring it to your player board. So for the second part of the Trajan action, after I've chosen which tile I want, I'm going to place that tile under my little arch, and then I will move that arch to the next empty spot. So the arch is actually going to determine where you're going to be able to put your Trajan tiles. If for any reason all the tiles are full, so you're putting, if you're putting the last one down that is full, this will go into the middle, and when you complete one of the Trajan tiles, whatever one becomes empty first, it will go to that spot. So let's quickly go through the Trajan tiles. The top left is 3 victory points and 2 commodity cards. The middle top is 4 victory points and a +2 bonus token, where you would put that on your board under the extra action of your choice, and then when you take an extra action, you will get to do it twice instead of once. The tokens on the right are for placing workers and Romans in the respective camps. If you're only putting 1 worker, you get 5. If you're putting 2 workers, you get 2 victory points. There are both 2 worker movement and 1 worker movement of both types. The middle bottom is 9 victory points, and the left bottom is a demand. You would either get a religious demand or a bread demand or an entertainment demand, depending on the tile. And those are permanent. The rest are used right when you get it. The demand tile is permanent and goes on your board for the rest of the game. Remember, when you take an action, you're going to be moving the time marker, the amount of spaces you used in action markers. So if you picked up 4 action markers and placed them around your action cups, you would move this up 4 spots. And everybody is going to be doing that on their turn when they take an action. When it gets around to the arrow or past the arrow, you are going to, for the first time, you're going to flip one of these demand markers. When it gets around to the second time around the arrow, you are going to flip a second tile. And the third time, you are going to flip the third tile. And the fourth time is actually going to signal the end of the quarter. These demand tiles are going to be goods that each person is going to need to fulfill at the end of the quarter. At the end of the quarter, we are going to determine if the players have met the demands of the Romans, who has the power in the Senate, and then some general upkeep. Why don't we take a look at the red player's board to see if he met the demands and to see if he can do anything about getting a little more power in the Senate. So quickly looking at the red player board, you can see that they will be able to meet two of the religious demands, one through a Trajan tile, which is permanent and you don't discard, and one through a forum tile, which you will discard when you actually use it. And they will also be able to add 3 votes to their current Senate position. As we just saw, the red player can only meet 2 of the demands, so they are going to lose 4 victory points. If you can only meet 1 of the demands, you lose 9 victory points. If you are unable to meet any of the demands, you lose 15 victory points. But looking up for the red player, they did have the Senate vote token that gives them an extra 4 votes. So with their extra 5 votes, sorry. With their 4 votes and their 5 votes, they are actually in first place and will get first choice of the bonus scoring tile that will score at the end of the game. Let's say red chooses this one. Now brown and green did not have any vote tiles, so they are tied with 5 votes. The tiebreaker, who is ever on top, is the winner of the tie. So since brown is in second place, they get the leftover bonus scoring tile, but they have to use the opposite gray side, which is not as powerful as the gold side. After you've determined the Senate power and people meeting their demands or not, you will remove all players will remove all Senate tokens from their board if they have used them or not. The forum will be wiped clean of all tiles and new ones will be laid out. And any area that does not have a tile in it or a leader or a legionnaire in it will get a new tile. So at the end of the 4th quarter, the game ends and you're ready to add up final game scoring. There are a few ways to score points at the end of the game. You will get 1 point for every commodity card left in your hand. You will get 1 point for every legionnaire in the legionnaire camp and 1 point for every worker in the worker camp. You will get points for sets of construction tiles. So I have 3 doors here. A set of 3 similar tiles is worth 10 points. I have a wild, so I can actually make that a set of 4. So instead of 10 points, that's actually worth 20 points. Only sets of 3 and 4 are worth points. For bonus tiles, I have a non-used religion demand tile, so I will get 9 points for this. And these are only for the forum tiles, not the Trajan tiles. For the commodity cards that I actually laid in front of me and took out of my hand and laid in front of me will count towards any bonus tiles. So in this situation I have 6 points, 2 for each of the tiles. And this tile gives me 3 points for every yellow bonus tile. So I would get 6 points for that. I would add my endgame points to the points I got during the game, and that will be my final score. And the final score, whoever has the final score that is highest wins. That was a rules explanation video for Trajan. If you have any further questions or clarifications, please refer to the rulebook. Have a great game.